Ready?
Welcome to Rhythm and Pixels, a video game music podcast. This is episode Podcast World 18, episode 9. We're your hosts. My name is Rob Nichols.
And I'm Pernell.
Every week we hang out and listen to great video game music of all generations and all consoles, and we have a good time doing it. So
It's just the thing we do. It's ridiculous. It sounds a little wacky, but man, does it get the job done, and the day goes by. You gotta forgive me a little bit here. I had a LaCroix and some sriracha with a supposedly level 4 out of 5 spicy from a Thai restaurant sauce. So I'm riding the.
You're riding the LaCroix wave, the
No, I'm like the hallucination.
sparkled beverage wave.
No, fun fact. Overly spicy foods makes for quite the hallucinogenic sensation, so I'm just kind of all over the place right now.
So before we get started, I would like to thank everyone who came out to see us this past Friday at Too Many Games. We had our show, it was on 7:30 at night, and we had some people come out and have a good time with us. So thank you all so much for coming out to the show. We did not get any of it recorded, but thank you so much for being there anyway.
It was genuinely hilarious, and I'm actually... It's like a part of me wants to do the topic anyway, but there's another part of me that's like, but would it be as good? We'll make it work.
I don't know. I think it worked great because of the audience.
No, I would still be. Let's not be stupid here. We still can make this thing sizzle. It's just, it won't be a Fuego Inferno. We're good.
Speaking of Fuego Inferno, I think we should introduce this week's guests.
And it's actually quite the guest.
Yeah, so we have with us Mr. Brent Weinbach and Mr. F Switch from
well, you got to say that full name.
Robert F. Switchers.
Wait a minute, would they say? Is it Rob?
Is it just
short for Robert?
But anyway, thank you both for coming on the show. And if you would just please state your full names for us, so that we can provide some context for the audience. But from the Legacy Music Hour, how you guys doing?
Hi.
We're not.
Roberts. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I like that Robert's F switch. That's a kind of a new angle on your kind of persona, even almost. I would say
that sounds very formal. But also, I don't know. I don't know if you knew this, Brent. I don't think I ever told you. When I was in kindergarten, my teacher called me Bob.
What?
So
really?
Bob.
Bobbert F. Smith.
From one Rob to another, how do you feel about changing the R to the B to make a Bob?
Bob. I never really got that. I understand why it's done. Bob, I think it's cool when people call Robert De Niro Bob. A lot of people in the industry, actors and other directors say, oh, yeah, Bob this, Bob that. And that sounds cool, but Bob on me? Bob?
Right.
No, I'm gonna have to say no.
But it is weird. How does an R turn into a B?
Bob, to shorten it.
Yeah, I guess what they do is they lengthen part of the letter of R to make a B. So I don't know how it turns into a B.
I've always thought it was kind of like a child's name. Like if I was a young kid, they would call me Bob, but now that I'm older, but I can't say that because my father's name was also Robert, but everyone called him Bob. So to me, Bob sounded like an older name, one with a mustache and sold cars. I don't know. Maybe it's just getting too.
Well, you're getting a little too into because you got to realize there's so many names that have nicknames that don't compute. We have the most obvious one being William getting translated to Bill. Now, I don't get how that works. Leonard becomes Lenny, which I get the L and the E, but everything else just kind of gets goofy.
Right.
And then, of course, Richard becomes Dick, which, how does that work?
Yeah. Like, there's like some, we discovered it, there's like some weird, like, ancient Egyptian text that just states that Dick is like the Pharaoh's name for his favorite Richard. I don't know.
We need Dick's Rosetta Stone.
That would take care of it.
Right.
That would give us the deets.
We need Dick Stone.
So close to saying that.
Or Dick Wolf.
Well, I mean, yeah, Dick Wolf. Since both of you guys' names is Rob, do you guys feel already a connection? Because people kind of treat you based on your name. Sometimes they kind of people might I don't know, based on their past history with a certain name, that might kind of treat you a certain way. Do you guys feel like you've lived the same life in a way? Because you guys are
the Robberverse.
After the smoke cleared from the console wars of 1990, whatever, I do feel that people, because of my preference for the Sega Genesis, and I believe that Rob F also feels the same way, that people treat us differently because of that. And I'm here to prove them that our tastes in game music and in hedgehogs is no different than people's tastes in Italian plumbers.
I beg to differ. You have your green hills over there. We have our layer cakes and mushroom kingdoms over here. And I'm gonna tell you something. Mushroom kingdoms are pretty darn tasty. Sauteed just right. But I don't know. Like Genesis, actually, I will say, though I have always had a like for Genesis music, I will say that doing this podcast has given me more of an appreciation for Genesis music in general. Because I would always say, oh yeah, Super Nintendo had the better music and better colors and graphics. But over the course of doing this show,
I'm so glad I've been able to change your mind.
Oh, you didn't change it.
180.
You know, more of a 45. We didn't go nuts here. But I've come to realize that there are definitely areas where the Genesis will just smoke out.
It just does.
No, it didn't.
Me too. I had the same experience. Doing our podcast. I knew there were definitely there was Genesis music that I liked. Like Sonic the Hedgehog, but I just didn't realize how amazing the Genesis music could be, with people like Norio Hanzawa and Hitoshi Sakamoto, I realized I always thought that the music on Super Nintendo was better, but then I realized, it really just depends on who's working with what they're working with,
I wanted to ask something before we get into the show in depth. I mean, I got a feeling that a lot of people out here already know this, but I'm the podcast plebe here, so I need to get the deets. So, how would you say you guys came to decide to start originally doing the Legacy Music Hour?
Well, I was born in a comedy club. No, would you say that, Brent?
Yes, the Improv Comedy Club in Hollywood, California. Prior to that, I did radio in the Bay Area, and I used to play video game music on that, and it'd been years since I did that, and I was really missing kind of sharing video game music with the public. And so Rob and I were talking, and then for some reason, I don't know why it came up, but Rob you were really into the soundtrack to Lightning Force.
Exactly. Thunder Force 4, and you know what? To this day, I don't even remember how I even got my hands on that way back when. Did I let you have the CD or let you borrow the CD?
Yeah, he burned a CD for me or something like that.
Right.
And you gave me the CD.
That, I don't even remember why or how I came upon. Well, no, you know what? Of course, because I played the game on the Sega Genesis, but I found the soundtrack and I had remembered the game. So I said, people need to know about this. I have to spread the word, spread the gospel.
That's good.
Yeah, somehow, Rob, you knew that I was into video game music or something like that. And anyway, so we kind of first started connecting about video game music because of that, Lightning Force, really. And then I was talking at one point about how I think I want to do a podcast about just where we play tracks and. Where I play tracks and just, talk about what I like about the track and stuff like that. Because basically I would just do that on Friends all the time. I would always say, listen to this track. Listen to this part. This part's cool here. And, I thought, I just want to do that and get back to playing stuff in a radio format. And then Rob said, he's like, I'll do it with you if you want. I'll get some equipment and we can start doing it. I said,
I know I had already had the equipment.
Oh
I
yeah,
already had everything because I had been dabbling with the idea of doing something with this recording equipment.
So you guys started kind of early on, and like when I feel like the podcasts were just booming around the time that you guys were getting involved. So maybe were you feeling that wave of interest in the format?
I thought it was kind of late. You know, I mean, I feel like, you know, I mean, well, we started, you know, in 2010, and it was, I mean, podcasts were kind of doing, you know, I felt like that was kind of late, but now people are still starting new podcasts. So I feel like, I mean, now I feel like we got in early actually, but
I feel like what happens, like you were in when people were making them, but like, if I remember correctly, just to refer to the original term, like podcast came just because originally people were only playing them like on their iPods in general, and there wasn't a hard, diverse amount of people playing them on other venues or other outlets. So it was still low key entertainment. Like people had them, but they weren't as prevalent. Whereas nowadays, like not even going this far, let's talk like 2015 or 2014 even. Like podcasting came up quite a bit between 2010 and 2014. For public access and use, and you guys kind of were on that wave going up.
Yeah, I feel like the first thing I didn't get a smartphone for a very long time, or anything that could play podcasts. But the first time I was like, oh, you know, I should probably look into that. The first thing I searched for was video game music, and I was like, oh, cool, Legacy Music Hour. What's this about? And I was like, perfect. That
was actually another thing, was that I was kind of looking for video game music podcasts myself in, you know, 2010, and I couldn't find it. There weren't any actually, or at least there certainly weren't any that focus on the eras that I like, you know.
Right.
So I did find some streaming radio stations on the internet that would play video game music, but a lot of them played sort of remixes and stuff, which I didn't really want to hear. And then they played a lot of modern console stuff, but there was only one station that I found that kind of was focused more on retro stuff, but that included Nintendo 64 stuff. So there wasn't really anything that was just purely third and fourth generation stuff, and if it was really limited. So anyway, yeah, that was part of it too, that there wasn't anything out there at the time. Yeah.
Well, how about we start listening to some music? I know that I asked Brent and Rob to bring some tracks in our general format, and we're going to listen to them and get into it. So,
well, worth mentioning, you got to mention this before we go. Yes, the fact that the Legacy Music Hour, as you heard earlier, their usual style of selection of tracks falls back on like the 16-bit, 8-bit era more so, right?
Yep, right.
So
third and fourth generation, full on, yeah.
Yeah, buddy. But coming on here, they are able to come out a little bit more because, like, hey, well, Rhythm and Pictures does whatever.
Right.
So they actually brought quite a bit of heat.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about the music that you've chosen to share for the show.
I picked a special selection from my Casio watch. 1992. So
that's vintage.
I think the listeners are going to get a real kick out of the selections from the Casio Timex musical watch.
Yeah, I brought a track from the TI-80.
Nice.
The Texas Instruments 80 calculator. They had a nice little jingle in there that I thought would be good for the show. So.
Yes. Actually, I think I had a TI-82. And it used Z80 Pro. You can program in Z80 machine language on it, which I think was the same processing language that was used on the Famicom. So maybe there's a little connection there.
I
could be completely wrong, but that's about as nerdy as I'm going to get today. So we usually ask our guests to start off the show, but we have two guests, Brent or Rob. Which one of you would like to select our first track for the day? Do you have an idea?
What do you think, Rob?
Well, what episode number is this?
Yeah, what episode?
We have the same thing. It's 18-9. So it's 9.
So what is that?
Right,
it's an odd number? That means it would be me.
Yep.
I usually...
Whoa! That's awesome! That is hilarious. All right. So on both shows, Rob gets the even numbered episodes, The opposite guy gets the eye.
Okay.
That's legit. Keep in mind, I've been like doing like Rob matchups this whole episode so far. Like, that's dual Rob vision going on.
You're
here.
gonna find out later that we both like robbed a bank together, and all these little connections. It's gonna be like,
It's like a Twilight Zone episode.
yeah.
But like you robbed a bank together because you had to like live up to the name Rob. So you gotta rob the bank.
And not enough connections.
Must have
Or
more.
like a single white female thing between me and Rob. All right, so this
Hey,
is.
I got a quick question for Rob, real quick. Rob Switch. Do you wait? Did you get called Bobby though, also, or just straight Bob?
Bob by my first grade teacher. But when I worked at one of the barbershops where I worked at in Los Angeles, there was a barber who's a very good friend of mine. He just would call me Bobby.
Bobby the barber.
Bobby the barber.
All right.
Bobby the
I just
Barber
wanted
Heenan.
Oh, well, speaking of Bob and Barb and whatever, I mean, that actually is a good segue into the first track I'm going to share, I guess.
Okay.
Well, okay, this is actually really going out to you, Bob, because
Sorry.
because the track that I'm going to start with is from a new game for, well, I played it on the Nintendo Switch, but you can play it on Steam as well. It's called Baba Is You. And so, you know, I mean, look, it's just a perfect transition here.
Like this guy.
This is a new, so this is a puzzle game, and it's the game was made by somebody named Arvi Teikari, and he also did the music to it as well. It's we're gonna hear a track called "Cog is Push," which is the music that plays in the solitary isle area of the game, which is the kind of second or third area. And this is just one of the tracks by the designer of the game, Arvi Teikari, from Baba Is You. It's a pretty cool puzzle game that I never was able to completely finish because it just was too hard. It's a really hard puzzle game, and I beat almost every single puzzle in it except for like the second to last one. I couldn't figure out, but anyway.
I know Parnell's gonna have some words about that too.
Oh yeah, let's talk the tracks.
All right, so Cog is Push from Baba Is You. You're listening to Cog is Push, known as Solitary Isle from the game Baba Is You, composed by Arvi Teikari, and this one's chosen by Brent Weinbach.
I have to say this right off the bat. There are some weird similarities popping off on this episode. So, fun fact: Rob, I was on the email chain of the dialogue exchange, so I knew when you submitted your tracks. However, as Rob can attest, I typically don't send my tracks to him until like the last minute or near it.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, geez, don't tell me about
it's
it."
Just you and me. It's different. Like we got the laptop is set up. Anyway, go ahead.
But before I saw your track selection, I had Water Sink from the same game on mine.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's crazy. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, you were Pernell. You were stuck into this game for a while. Like it was in your brain.
Yes,
Yeah.
like I wonder if you can feel if you attest to this statement too, in the sense that when Nintendo had their Indies broadcast, this game was amongst it, but visually it didn't really draw me in, and I was kind of at work with it playing in the corner. Don't tell my boss. And so I didn't really pay attention to a lot of like them describing this is how the game's going to work. So watching this doesn't look appealing at all. But I ended up pulling a review code for it, and I was kind of expecting to be like, this game is okay at best, nothing special. Just ignore it. And now it is seriously my favorite game that's been released this year. It is a gem.
It's I know what you mean though. I found it to be a little bit. I mean, the game is kind of like dry in a way, but I got sucked in because there's certain puzzles in it. They're just so cool. Some of the solutions to them, and I mean, I don't know. I definitely enjoyed it. I spent 156 hours on this game.
Holy pickles!
Yeah, and I just couldn't. And 27 of those hours were spent on one puzzle in particular that I could not ever figure out. I still haven't figured out, and I hope to figure it out one day. So if you know the puzzle I'm talking about, I won't say the name of it because I don't want anybody to tell me anything about it. But
what world is it though?
It's in the final world.
Okay.
When did it break you, Pernell? When did Baba Is You hurt you?
Here's the thing.
When did Baba hurt you?
Yeah.
Colossal the doll. No, I can't say it broke me because you can attest. I'm constantly jumping between games because either I want to play through something or I'm getting hit with copies and stuff. I got to play everything. But I keep going back and trying to do more when I find time, and I want to delve more. But what I will say was there was one point in the game, and what I like about this game is because of this, is that you'll be stumped on a puzzle for an absurd amount of time, and when the solution finally hits, you almost feel dumb for not getting it sooner. In fact, there was a level in the second world, the Water Zone, Sunken Temple. Actually, the first level was called Sunken Temple in there. And I solved the puzzle, and afterwards, and actually that took me a little bit, and then I unlocked the level after that. And when I went to it, I was stumped for like a good 2 hours or so. And here's where it gets weird. The solution to the puzzle, even though they made some changes, was exactly the same as the solution to the previous area, and it didn't even click for me.
Oh, wow. It was almost like a double fake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, how is that possible? You changed all these elements, but the solution is exactly the same, and it fooled me. So I was like, there was a part of me saying, was that bad design, or was that ingenious because I didn't put two and two together?
Now I know that like you're into puzzle games. Like I'm into puzzle games. We play puzzle games together. Brent, is this a style that you're like that draws you into it too? Like specifically puzzle games?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do like puzzle games. I mean, I love The Witness. That was one of my favorite games that came out a few years ago. The Witness was one that. I mean, that's actually. Witness became, even though I mainly like older games, that was one of my favorite games of all time. Was The Witness, and I like Adventures of Lolo, and I like puzzle games like this, and so I do like games like this, but sometimes I was like overwhelmed by how many rules there were in a level. Whenever I'd go into a level and see just a bunch of words everywhere, I would just leave and say, I'll come back to this. I'd move on because it was overwhelming, but I've eventually got used to the all the rules. And realized they weren't as overwhelming as they appeared to be. I do like these kind of games. Yeah,
Brent.
Yes, sir.
You know how I solve puzzles?
How's that?
with my fists and my feet on the street. That's my kind of puzzle game right
I don't
there.
know if your Switch could endure that sort of solution.
That's,
You're talking about Puzzle Fighter?
Oh yeah.
That Street Fighter 2 like Tetris kind of game or whatever?
No, I'm talking about Street Fighter 2 and just the puzzle of actual hand-to-hand combat.
Actually, you're maybe kind of joking, but it's kind of true that, well, action games are like puzzles to me. I mean, when trying to figure out boss patterns and stuff like that, I think pretty much all like action platformers and stuff, those are like puzzles too, figuring out how am I going to beat this, or how am I going to avoid certain attacks, and then how am I going to inflict damage on the opponent. There's a puzzle.
Yeah, especially competitive, like head to head. I never got good at Street Fighter 2, but with Street Fighter 4, I was like big into the competitive scene out here. In Street Fighter 5, I kind of stopped playing for a while. But there's the whole like mind games you play against your opponent. There's the whole Okizime element, which is like the knockdown, then wake up, and like what do you do when you attack. There's so many elements that happen but they happen so quickly that unless you're playing the game and looking for these elements and reading them, I think a spectator wouldn't see right away like, oh, he's puzzling out what to do next, or that was an amazing decision because he just faked out his opponent after like 4 throw attempts.
I can agree with that, because like while I'm horrific at fighting games, puzzlers and like shooters, platform shmups or whatever are my thing. So like Hard Corps Uprising would be a good example of what you were describing, I think, too, with the puzzling through bosses, because the game is riddled with them. Many bosses and final bosses, and they're always doing like crazy motions with tells going off. And if you're not able to, pontificate what those things would be, you are ultimately going to find yourself just overwhelmed with, decisions on how to evade and how to avoid and when to fire. But if you're good at spotting that stuff, bosses almost become simple.
Especially with this treasure or cave.
Cave shooters.
Yeah, cave shooters.
Lord.
But no, so Rob's talking about talking with his fists. How about you talk with some music? What track?
How about you talk with your mouth about a track that we're going to hear with our ears?
Okay.
Talk
Coming
with your ears.
Definitely deliver on that one. You already know what track I'm going to play first. Coming from the Mega Drive.
Ooh.
That's right. Mega Drive.
Yeah.
That's huge.
King Colossus. King Colossus is the name of the game. Boss music, aka Black Enemy. Let's get into it, guys.
I'm ready to jam.
You're listening to Black Enemy boss music from the game King Colossus for the Sega Mega Drive, composed by Kenichiro Iosda, Iosda, I think. And Pernell is exclaiming, "This looks like an RPG," and is very excited.
Yes, because I have never heard of this game until you brought this pick, and I was expecting it to be completely unlike what I'm looking at now. I thought it was going to be about being, King Colossus of the Colossi colony, and you're just basically like doing some more sim-based actions to keep the colony running. This is not this. This is more.
I like this. This is really making the Genesis talk. You know, it sounds like a voice. The wow, 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 wow.
It almost reminds me of Pilot Wings, the Rocket Belt music. You know, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
That beginning reminds me somewhat of the movie Mad Max. That the drummers, the new Mad Max, the Mad Max Fury Road, when the drummers are drumming into combat. I just love that. Almost like a military drum. Yeah. And then there's that siren in the middle. It's like that siren noise, very subtle, but I really like that as well.
I'm just glad that he mentioned Mad Max, the new one, and clarified it, because I'm ashamed to admit that I've never even seen the original Mad Max. I only know about it because of the NES game.
Oh, they're fun. They're a lot of fun.
Oh,
it's been a long time.
You gotta see part 3, Beyond Thunderdome. That's the best one, I think. You know?
Really?
Right. Oh yeah, you got Tina Turner in it, and there's a good song that she does. That's part of kind of like part of the movie. It's a good song, you know.
There's Blaster Masters in the movie, right?
Oh yeah, well, Master Blaster.
Oh, tomato, right?
There's no frog hunting via tank in this movie. Though actually, so would you say that the recent Mad Max, did it do a decent job of carrying up the Mad Max vibe? Or not so much?
For me personally, I know people really like the movie, but for me, it was, I couldn't even grasp what was going on in the movie because there was all these cuts and stuff, and I don't know, there's a little bit, the pacing is a little slower to the other movies, and I prefer slower pacing personally, but plus, Tina Turner wasn't in the new one either, so
that isn't enough,
and there wasn't a cool song in it like there was for Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, so and also the Thunderdome concept in and of itself is just anyway, point being is no, I for me, Fury Road did not live up to the standard of Beyond Thunderdome.
I'll tell you what, right now, Fury Road, Rob F. Switch approved.
That's good.
Loved it.
I liked it too.
Absolutely loved it. The action, the style that it was shot, the score was very dramatic. The characters I loved them, and hopefully they get out of litigation, Warner Brothers and that director, so they can get it to work on the sequel.
I didn't even know they were in litigation.
No, it's nasty. Both sides are claiming money is owed.
Oh, mercy.
It's nasty.
I do appreciate that the director is the same, as director as the other Mad Max movies, George Miller.
Oh, I didn't know that either. I'm not much of a... I like movies a lot, but I'm never really good at picking out like directors and actors and stuff like I am with composers sometimes.
Well, I can definitely say have you seen the Mad Max, the recent one?
Oh, the new one, yeah, I liked it a lot. I really recommend it too. But like the original Mad Maxman, the original Mad Maxman movies, I watched when I was really young, in the 80s. And so
Angered Maximilian.
So it has like a weird, like and I haven't watched it recently when I'm an adult. So I have like this kind of weird connection to these older, like these old 80s sci-fi movies. So like, right, it sits up with me with these movies I can hardly remember. Like, you remember Solar Babies?
No, I've not even heard of Solar Babies.
It was kind of like a Mad Max world in the desert, but everyone had rollerblades.
My impression of Solar Babies is completely different from what the movie is.
Or what's that? Buckaroo Banzai.
Buckaroo Banzai. What I like about the movie, my favorite part of that movie is the credit sequence.
Yes,
it's one of the best credit sequence. It has nothing to do with the movie, but it's just the credit sequence is so good. It's one of the best credit sequence in any movie. I feel like that, and the credit sequence to Dune, I think, are really good too. I think they could have opened with that ending credit sequence in Buckaroo Banzai, and then when it was over, play the credit sequence again to finish the movie. I like that a lot. I love that credit sequence. So good. I like the music in it too. Actually, kind of sounds like video game music a little bit. Actually,
yeah, it does. Yeah. Were you say
a little bit?
Yeah. Two quick questions. Number one, Rob, are you the rhythm in Rhythm and Pixels?
Yeah.
And Purnell, are you the Pixels? I just got that right now.
It's actually funny because Rob didn't get that either, even though, if I'm not mistaken, he came up with the name.
Right.
So what happened was we were brainstorming names. We had a bunch. Like, he had the sound test at one point. I had like video game buddies or
Super Music Friends.
Super Music
Hour or
Friends.
something.
We had some crazy names. And Rob comes up with Rhythm and Pixel. Spectacular name.
Sounded cool, right?
So we take it, and then like maybe 20 episodes into the show, I just state just casually, Rob being the rhythm and me being the pixels. And Rob goes, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "That's what the names mean." Also, and he's like, "I didn't know this. Did you also know that rhythm starts with R and pixels start with P?" And he's like, "What?" I was like, "Oh my god, this genius name!"
Yeah, I'm very much into music, and Pernell is more into games. I mean, I enjoy games, but you play a lot more than I do.
Yeah, and like by that same token, it's like, well, I do like a lot of game music. I'm terrible with composer recollection, aside from a few. And Rob is a gem when it comes to, like, I know who wrote all these tracks. I can line up. I can put them in the lineup, and I can tell you who wrote which what.
So, Brent, are you Legacy or are you the Music Hour?
Or is somebody else? And is there a third figure involved that is is a third word?
The mysterious hour.
Like,
who is Rob? Who is Rob F? Who do you think would be Legacy in our group?
I don't know. I think I'm the.
I completely forgot.
I'm more of a the man myself.
Right.
So there's two shadow entities, puppeteering.
We have a definitive article over here.
I'm Legacy Music Hour, and Rob is the. I'm all three. Legacy Music Hour, and he's the fourth. The.
We were talking about movies and video games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember there was a time when a movie would be released, and within a year, the game would be released on the console, the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, what have you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to those days? Huh?
Yeah, Pernell.
I love how Rob looks at me. What about those days? Well, you see, it all started with the Body Snatchers in the 1990s, late period. Now, I feel like what happened, though, is that the game industry kind of blew beyond the need for that almost. Like, there was a period when that would happen because there was always that desire to try to drum up business, and tie-ins are easy sells, and we still get those tie-ins.
Did you say drum up business?
No,
Rob, you should turn up the music for that part. Right
Oh
there.
yeah, I can do that. Pernell, you want to drum up that business?
Yeah, dude, they were trying to draw up the business to make this extra money. So it's like, game ties are easy license, like they're easy money, but buy the license, make like a little hackneyed game. Bonus if the game is actually good and it sells.
I feel like they still do that for like Disney movies
But
and
that's
things
the
like
thing,
that,
though.
right?
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Or the Marvel stuff.
They still do that stuff, but the tie-in the timing of the tie-in isn't as important anymore. It's mostly just the characters.
Yeah.
So, like for example, the Avengers have been doing movies for years now, but we're only just now looking to finally get an Avengers movie universe-based game. So they're going to try to make use of that popular entity, but it's not so much based on the need of, okay, time to follow this hot trend and get it running. Even though somebody say, Endgame just came out recently, but honestly, if Endgame didn't come out this year, I would bet that game would still be coming up on the way.
I'm sure. Yeah, people can't get enough of the Avengers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I think A Star Is Born on Sega Genesis. That's money right there. That's money.
I like
Take that to the bank.
Well,
The money bank.
They might have done the Barbra Streisand version.
That would have been a pretty rad.
Chris Christopherson version on Genesis. That could have happened,
That would have been pretty rad rhythm game, honestly. On Sega. It could be like a Toe Jam and Earl and Barbra Streisand.
I would play that. I wouldn't tell anyone, but I'd play that.
All right, Pernell, we're on to your first track.
Okay, of the tracks I selected, I feel like this would be a great follow-up to the track you just picked there. So let's go with it. It is from a game fairly recent called Time Spinner, and the track's title is called Mask of Corruption, and the composer is Jeff Bull. Welcome back. You're listening to Mask of Corruption from the game Time Spinner, composed by musician Jeff Ball. And fun fact, I owe Rob $5 because I did pick this track on a previous episode, and his brain remembered this factoid. And I'm like, nah.
I couldn't remember Time Spinner, but I did that. I think it was the bass. The bass caught me. The bum 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 bum.
Just so good. I'm okay with this. This will be literally the first time. Well, it's happened, but it was cut with advance.
Yeah, I usually cut and edit.
But
wow, you guys have this system implemented where if someone plays a repeat track, they owe the other person money, huh?
Oh no, not that far. It was just like just now he kind of like looked over like it whispers like, I think you picked this track.
I said, this sounds super familiar. And I said, I think we played this before. And Pernell said, I bet you $5 I never played this.
I never played this before. I checked. And I was like, no, I didn't.
So it's a time, space, spinner. I probably asked this before, but I remember the track, but not the game. Time Spinner. What is a time spinner?
So the idea behind Time Spinner is it is a group of people who have command over time in a sense. They can throw themselves forward and back in time. Mm-hmm. Now the idea is that there's also a tyrannical kingdom, because there's always a tyrannical kingdom, who is after their clan to pretty much take them out and steal their technology.
Steal their time traveling tech.
Steal their time traveling tech. So the idea is that they have this weird ritual where every certain number of years, a time spinner from the present throws themselves forward to the future to warn like the further ahead colony of details they need to know to act going forward. It's a really bizarre concept, but I like it.
How does it play? Is this like a point and click?
No, it's like it was designed via Kickstarter a couple years ago, though it only recently came out, to be a follow-up to like the Metroidvania style of games, most intended to be as close to being like Symphony of the Night as possible in style.
Okay. So, what was that one I got into? That was like that, like a Metroid.
Weren't you playing Dead Cells?
No, Axiom Verge.
Axiom Verge. Okay.
Yeah, that was very much a Metroidvania type game.
Yeah, but
that was all made by one guy too, I think.
Yeah, it was. That was really impressive. The music on that was super cool. It was real dark and like chiptune, which was neat.
I was gonna play Axiom Verge, but I played Hollow Knight and I spent 80 hours on it or something, and then after that I kind of just thought, it's gonna be a while till I play another Metroidvania again. I got burnt out.
Brent got burnt.
On
the Metroidvania. I haven't tried Hollow Knight yet, so I've been sort of itching for another side-scrolly game.
Hollow Knight is a quality. That's one of the upper echelon Metroidvania titles to be released in the last few years. Honestly,
listener Chris Murray, right, was really into that, and Cameron Warner.
Both of them were.
Yeah.
Like honestly, it's kind of interesting that we're in this current period now where we're finally getting a new Igavania game, being Bloodstained. They finally hit the market. And people were gushing over it. But it makes you think, in a way, like, now that this game is out there, does it in any way feel as though these other games were just buying time, quote-unquote, until this new Igavania game came out? Or do they themselves, have they done enough to say, look, the originator is back, but a lot of these games have eclipsed what you could do, and it's glorious.
So are you saying that, when something that you love decides to go away for maybe about a year, and then other talented people come up and they want to do their own thing, are they just buying time until they can have the thing that they miss come onto their show?
That was not... That's a creepy parallel. No, it's just that thought, though, because like it's interesting in the sense that my take on it is that Bloodstained still it's fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic game. And it was worth the wait. But it's interesting that due to the fact that people were so interested in wanting more of that game, and the guy behind the mask wasn't putting out the stuff, all these other game companies like, no, we can make a Metroidvania game. We can make a Metroidvania game.
That makes me think of a question for Rob. Since I know that Rob is into Street Fighter, like there's been a lot of cool indie titles like in the fighting game space that have tried to distill like what they love about Street Fighter or what they love about some of these anime fighters. I think of like Dive Kick or what's the one?
Skullgirls.
Skullgirls. Have you tried any of these, Rob?
No. I don't know too much about the indie game scene, but you send me email me, man.
Yeah,
definitely about Skullgirls, because if you've never played Skullgirls and you're a fighting game fan, Hey, you guys have stuff to talk about.
It's tough for, especially for like people who are into fighting games. You get involved in one game and you get really focused on it to want to open your brain to other titles. But there's some really cool stuff out there. That's they do some really interesting things with game mechanics like block parrying and,
I'll tell you.
and dashing and
What
stuff.
do you play it on?
Skullgirls?
You can play it, yeah. A lot of these are on like the newer PlayStation, or you play them on the
okay.
PC, stuff like that. Yeah.
But I think at least the original version before they did like Second Encore could even be played on the PS3.
Yeah. PS3. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people are really into Smash Brothers. There's been like remakes or like versions of
Project M, Project M.
M.
That's
yeah.
the fan variant to it. The one thing I will say about fighting games and just that fighting game spirit that always amazed me is that it's one thing to say I play a bunch of puzzle games and I go from game to game and I'm able to discern how to do the best, how to play my best and win at each of these games. But I feel like it's another level when you look at fighting games and people who are really skilled at multiple fighting games and can go from one to another in a tournament setting, know their character, know all the matchups and the move inputs to get what they need done properly.
Yeah, it's you gotta be an athlete, like it's a special kind of athlete to be like good at multiple fighting games like that.
Yeah, I'm the guy who's like, who are you use? I use that person with the rollerblades, and that's all I need to know.
The best thing about playing like all the Street Fighter games is it can be like I play Guile. I can play Guile through every game.
Or you look for someone who plays like Guile in other games, right?
Yeah, like
They call them like charge characters.
yeah,
or?
charge characters. Yeah, I like to play grapplers though. The slow fighty men.
So we should ask these guys, like, what would you say? I think Rob already hit, Rob's with his.
Yeah.
Rob with Rob's. But what would you say are your guys like either preferred or like stand out game genres of play? Like if we were to say, what does Brent get down with? We were going to say, Brent, he's the puzzle guy.
Yeah,
he does puzzle games.
I know Rob's an RPG guy, right?
Oh, I mean, no, my perfect genre is just side-scrolling kind of just platformers, like side-scrolling platformers. That's just classic, I like that the most out of anything. Really.
Oh, yeah.
I have a hard time with 3D games. They actually.
Oh yeah, can't do 3D.
The first person, The Witness, I couldn't get through a lot of the way because of the perspective, and I got really badly motion sick.
I don't really like 3D worlds and stuff, but the actual gameplay was really more, was 2D really when you played the puzzles. The puzzles were just all 2D.
Yeah.
But I don't do 3D platformers, but yeah, just a 2D platformers. That's my favorite kind of game. Yeah.
Have you guys seen Sonic? I think it's called Sonic Spin Dash on the phone.
Oh,
I've heard of it. I want to say that it's sort of like one of those. I want to say MOBA. When I say MOBA, that doesn't even make sense. But it's like one of those auto runners or something, right?
Auto runner, exactly. It's terrible.
Auto runner.
I hate it. They ruined another slap in the face of Sonic.
They did do a puzzle fighter for the phone that's not out anymore, but it was very faithful to the original.
The problem was it was very faithful at a cost.
Yes.
They were going for those wallets.
They were going for anything that's competitive on the phone. They can really go after some money. But
now, wait, real quick. I want to hop on. I got a question about it. So you mentioned the Sonic Spin Dash game was muh. Did you play Super Mario Run?
I didn't even know that existed.
Oh crap! Yeah. Fun fact: there's a game called Super Mario Run.
that was like the first Nintendo phone game. Right?
Yeah, it was their first game, and it floored people that they were even going to go to the mobile market, and it was an auto-running Mario game. And I was curious about your thoughts on it because you didn't like the Sonic game, because I heard a lot of people that are into like mobile games. I am not, as Rob can attest.
Well, they're making a Commander Keen mobile game,
and that game got jeers on top of jeers.
Because the fan base for that is huge. But so we talked about side-scrolling games and Metroidvania games, and one of my favorites of the past couple of years, well, at least with my favorite soundtracks, is a game called 20XX or 20XDX.
Ooh.
And this came out on the PC. It was released, I think, on Switch and on the PlayStation 4. And it plays like Mega Man X, except that it is also a roguelike, where all of the stages are randomized and all of the bosses are randomized. But the music it's fire, because the artist's name is Cityfire.
Also because it plays on a fire-themed stage?
And no, this one's actually I should have done that. This is an ice stage.
Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice.
That's a good puzzle. That's a good puzzle game right there.
It is.
This is his name is Brandon Ellis, also known as Cityfires. This track is called Permafrost from the Forstor Datacenter from the game 20XDX. This is Forstor Datacenter Permafrost from the game 20XDX, composed by Cityfires. His real name is Brandon Ellis. I probably could have said that a lot better.
Right? Well, due to the power of editing, you can later.
It's composed by Mr. Black.
Are you guys childhood friends?
Oddly enough, no, but it feels like it.
We were, was it 20? No, not 20. They were like 22.
No. Go back. You were more accurate. So, fun fact. Originally, the way I met Rob was because I used to work at the KB toy store
we worked
at our local mall.
We worked at the same mall.
And he worked at an electronics boutique store. So on my lunch breaks, I was about 20 years old or so, I would go from the store to his store and harass them by bugging about when new games came out. Come on, man, take that game out the case and put it in the demo machine. I want to try it. And I was just that annoying guy who would just constantly pop in and bug everybody.
Yeah, but you wanted to play all the crazy stuff that we could never sell. So
yeah, like I remember. I think you were working at the time where one day around the Christmas season, I showed up at the. Oh, you might have just left, but I came to the store with Guitar Freaks and an import PlayStation 1 and hooked it up on the store TV. And it was just sitting there jamming out. People were like, "What the heck is this game?" I was like, "Is that a guitar? Is that a simulator?"
So he used to come into the shop, and then I learned that there was a Dance Dance Revolution machine at the movie theater where I used to work down the road, and I was like, "Hey,
you're skipping details."
The detail is
slow down.
And then
Rob quit. Rob quit working at the store.
Oh, I came back.
No, you quit working at the store.
I don't remember.
See, I remember all this because it was a big deal. So Rob quit working at the store. It wasn't an announced thing. He just left and got another job. So he just wasn't there anymore. But we were friends, just we didn't talk anymore because he wasn't at the store where we would communicate. So one day, I was having a pretty off day, at home. Like, I had nothing to do, bored as the dickens. And I was like, I'm going to go run some errands at the mall. Do you want to go? I'm like, I don't really feel like it. And this was like a good year or so, a little over a year later. And I was like, fine, I'll go. Let's just go or whatever. And as I'm going out to the mall entrance, Rob and his friend are coming out of the mall.
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, aren't you that guy that used to work at Electronics Boutique? And he's like, hey, yeah, I remember you. We started talking. He's like, so we started catching up. He's like, where are you off to? And Rob goes, I just learned there's a DDR machine down, like the shop is here down the road. And I was like, I'm going with them. Can I go with them? So I just bolted. We just went and played DDR. We've been friends ever since.
Yeah, I made 2 best friends that day, Purnell and Dance Dance Revolution.
Wow. Nice.
Well, all right.
So
there it is.
That's kind of a can of worms there, but no, it's
It was a fun can of worms.
yeah, it was
though.
a fun can of worms. Yeah, but no, we
Have you guys have talked about this on your show before?
maybe once or twice. It's hard to remember a ways back.
Yeah.
So some people have asked, but
But it's possible that you've never talked about this on your show before, and therefore this is a Rhythm and Pixels exclusive.
This is true. I mean, I'm almost positive we've talked about it with other people, like not on air, but just
Right.
like just discussion. But this may be the first time we said it on the show.
that wasn't the first time I've played Dance Dance Revolution, but it was the start of me playing every week since then. So I don't know, was it?
It was definitely my first time playing on a machine.
18 years ago. So yeah.
Because that was at the time, it was a game that was talked about, and I only ever saw the home ports at like anime cons, but never seen
Yeah.
an actual machine.
Yeah, we used to get together and we were really into rhythm games like Beat Mania and Guitar Freaks and stuff like that. I was more into the ones you play with your feet, but we played everything. We still do. I mean, so
Just at a convention this weekend playing U-Beat and poppin' music.
yeah, poppin' music and things like that. Yeah, we've been doing that we're doing that a long time for now.
Almost going on 20 decades years.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you're at my wedding. Awesome. Yeah, and no video game music at the wedding though.
Best man?
Nah, he had a brother that took that spot, but I was going to fight him for it.
Yeah, if he had moved.
I was like, dude. On one hand, I was like, come on, man, I'm best man. The other part of me was like, you got to do the bachelor party and all that. That's on you, but
Yeah. He had to pay all that money. Yeah, he put them. All they did was like go to Dave and Buster's and play video games.
there you go. See, that's how. Yeah, that day, that bachelor party was so laid back. Like,
Yeah.
I was expecting to have to go through all the usual rigmarole that bachelor parties doing. I'm like, it's for my friend. Let's just have a ball. And he's like, no, let's get a limo and go to the corner of Steak and Philly, which, if you're not familiar with it, Philly, as you know, is known for cheesesteak. It's one of the things it's known for. And there are 2 notorious cheesesteak vendors who have businesses across the street from each other. They typically run till like 5 in the morning, and they're always packed. Every day of the week, no matter which season, it's crowded. We drive a limo up there, nowhere to park, get out in suits and ties to go up to get the nastiest cheesesteaks you can imagine. Try not to get them on our suits, and then we went to Dave and Buster's and played video games and drank.
That was a good night,
It really was.
from what I remember.
Yeah, because you got liquored up.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. All right. So, Brent, what's your next track then?
All right. Well, next up, we're going to hear from a game called Cave Story, which originally came out for the computer on 2004, and this is a game that was designed by a man named Daisuke Amaya, who also goes by the alias Pixel. And the what?
I was like, oh, Pixel, great day.
Oh yeah, right. And so this game was a game he started working on in college in 1999, and then he kind of worked on it in his free time and finished it in 2004. And it's interesting because it harkens back to older style games, that's pretty popular now. But this is 2004 that this game came out, kind of well before kind of retro sort of side scroller kind of games were popular again. So it was kind of I guess ahead of its time in a way, But we're gonna hear sort of the main theme, which is called Cave Story. This is a really cool game. If no one's ever played it, this is a great little game made by one guy, and he did all the music and stuff as well. So
yeah, we are fans. So let's hear the main theme. I like that.
You gotta say.
Yeah, that's good. All right. This is the main theme from Cave Story, titled Cave Story, composed by Daisuke Amaya, aka Pixel.
Nice
And,
one.
yeah, I like the end of that. I never listened to the main theme all the way through, to be honest. It's like, like a counter melody type thing, or
I think you get to hear it. Well, there's a certain area of the game, kind of later in the game, where you do get to hear the full track, really. Because generally people don't hear it as the title theme, but it's used later on in the game, and then you can hear the whole thing.
Okay. I never finished it. I got stuck on one of the bosses. I was playing the remake that was on Steam, and they redid some of the graphics.
Oh yeah,
and, which is really cool. And I think they did the music, but you could like switch back between the original music and then the arranged.
I'm just enjoying the fact that this Purnell Brent connection thing continues to flourish, because Cave Story, when it came out, it hit notes that at the time games weren't hitting for me. I played it ad nauseum, and when I learned it was that second bonus boss or the real boss and all that, I went back and played through it again, which again is something that I typically didn't do. I didn't usually play games through more than once, but I was obsessed with Cave Story. The music is still on point. Yeah. And I still am one of those people who's like, if a character is a guest in another game, I usually will try to jump on just to actually interact with those characters. Like, Cave Story is a gem of a title.
Yeah, there's a new game or newer game called 1001 Spikes. That's like a super hard platforming, almost like a puzzle game. But you can choose some of the Cave Story characters playable within it.
You can unlock Curly Brace, and she gets the jetpack that you can get in the game with the booster pack.
Yeah.
She comes with that.
Is this another Pixel game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, it's not.
No, not Pixel the character. No,
it's like Pixel.
Pixel the designer.
The designer, I mean, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not a Pixel the designer game. It is a game by Nicholas. Nicholas did it. Which is convenient because I guess that's the company that took on the Cave Story license to release the game.
Okay. Oh, they took the license to do the re-releases and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they use his characters in other games as well, and 1001 Spikes is one such game. So it's graphically similar. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that it's a bunch of short levels that are ridiculously booby-trap laden, and the goal is to find a key hidden on the stage and then find your way to the door that uses the key and get out of the level. And it's simple yet brutal.
Yeah, it's fun watching you play. It's fun watching you play because it looks stressful to me. But these games that are created by one designer, like where it's from programming to the level design, right up to the music, is always really fascinating to me because I've seen it before with if you ever played or heard of the Toho series of games. They're like they're computer game, they're shooter games that started on the PC 98 and but now they're on the PC. But it was all made by one guy named Zune, who in college wanted to play a bullet hell shooter game, but with the style of music that he loved, and they weren't being released. So he just said, I'm going to quit everything and just make these games for myself. And they're wildly popular. I mean, they have this insane like internet like subculture following. But I'm trying to think of another one that was all
Undertale.
Undertale, right? Yeah,
that's a good choice.
Which just
Toby Fox.
I mean, mainly one guy. Toby Fox did the music. The music's amazing.
Oh, the music is incredible on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, if you're a fan of Toby Fox's music, you may not have played the game itself, but there's a game that came out earlier this year called like Y2K, but it's spelled YIIK. Toby Fox did a battle theme in that game.
That's very good.
And it's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You definitely might want to check that one out. I think you think you guys would enjoy it.
Yeah, there's the number of games coming out in the indie space is, especially right now, it's incredible. I think the wide availability of the tools and the people interested in making games now.
It's kind of scary in a way too, though. At least for me, because maybe it's because I'm getting it's because maybe it's just me getting old and doubly influenced or enforced by the fact that if I go on like Facebook thread about games, I still see the same knuckleheads saying wacky stuff. But I find myself more appreciative and interested in all these like indie games that don't go nuts with system resource usage or whatnot, and just go for tight gameplay, in a way that I find myself ignoring a lot of the more AAA studio productions. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm interested in one of the games that people are asking me, what are you most looking forward to? Like after E3, I'm like, I'm still looking forward to Moving Out, which sounds like a double entendre. But no, Moving Out being it's like an indie game where you're just moving furniture.
Oh, that's right. It's like a puzzle game, but you're moving furniture into trucks, into other apartments.
Yeah, it is always through weird environments. Like you're walking through, you're carrying a couch across a volcanic lava flow.
Yeah, anytime we've had to mmove furniture, I always think of Tetris, trying to fit the furniture just right into trucks. So that's the perfect
There's what's that called? Sobokon or something like this?
Oh yeah,
Sokoban.
Sokoban.
Yeah, that's kind of it's become like a genre almost of puzzle games and moving boxes around. And Baba Is You kind of does that a little bit too.
I didn't think of that connection between Baba Is You and Sokoban. Yeah, Sokoban. It was what was the name? It was a Game Boy game that I had that was Sokoban. Boxel, or it was Chips Challenge. That wasn't on the Game Boy, but that was an old PC or Amiga thing.
The Chips Challenge? Yeah, it was on Lynx too.
Oh, it was on the Lynx?
Well, I played it on Lynx when it was on Lynx. Yeah. Have you heard of that game Micro Mages that came out recently?
No.
It's a new Nintendo game. It's you can get it for Nintendo on a cartridge, but it's I think the music might be pretty good from what I've heard, and it's really cool. The person who made it did, I think it was just one guy, and really used the limitations of the Nintendo. I mean, I think he made the game. It was I don't know how big the maximum is, but it was a 40K game or whatever, 40 KB.
Oh, so
better.
Yeah, it's a special
or 80 KB. I'm not sure, whatever the limit is, but he worked within the limits and everything. And I know it looks like a pretty cool game.
That's
Micro
cool.
Mages. Another one of these indie self-made games. Yeah.
What would you say is your but your favorite indie game? Indie game that just and all of it just encompasses what you like about indie games and why you tend to pursue them or find interest in them.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, God, it's that game Inside that came out a few years ago.
Yeah, that was good.
That was just a work of art, I mean, just it's so good. I mean, I guess the indie games are really good because they play towards my older sensibility, my tastes which are older sensibility, kind of preference. It seems like they just incorporate the values of older games more than new games. I mean, new games I just can't even. Well, new games with new aesthetics, I just can't even wrap my head around. I just don't. It's too complicated for me. It's just, I don't know. I like more simple stuff, I guess.
I tried playing one of those battle royale games, Apex Legends, and I couldn't figure out a whole lot of what was going on. But it was hide and seek for a while, and that was kind of cool, but also a little boring. Oh, yeah. Everyone's out there shooting each other, and I'm just kind of hiding. But I'm not. But
I just those. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. It's hard to pick a favorite of independent games. I mean, it's more by year. I can go by year or more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Though I'd be terrible at by year.
Last year was The Messenger was I think the best game of the last year.
Messenger's great.
Which I only experienced for the first time 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
became our game of the month on our Rhythm and Pixels game chat group because a lot of listeners and Rob too were like, "This game is on point, Pernell. You should play it." I'm like, if I'm playing a new game, you gotta try it. Yeah, and I jumped on it, and I was enamored with it too. I will say, if I had to pinpoint a game like that, for all the indie games I love, I think Crypt of the Necrodancer at my present state of mind would be the one. And the reason why is because one thing I like about indie games, aside from what you already said about the maintaining, placing more of an emphasis on classic aesthetics and details, is the fact that indie games typically are more willing to think outside the box to come up with a unique experience.
Right.
Instead of ticking a bunch of boxes because they know it'll sell.
Well, I feel like they don't have a huge group of investors sitting behind them saying, we need to make back this amount of cash. It's usually a smaller group that's trying to make something more artful or artistic or just something
fun.
That's just fun, right? Yeah, something that they would want to play. Yeah, but
and plus you like rhythm games too, so there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably another factor for you.
So we're on to Rob's second pick. So Rob F. Switch. What's your next track?
Okay. Well, it is Sunday, so I think we should pay some respects here, and let's go with Saint Dragon.
Oh.
Patron saint of burning down villages.
Burning down the house.
It's an arcade game. So here is the music from Area 2.
Area 2 from the game Saint Dragon for the arcade, composed by SIZLLA. Also, his true name is SIZLLA Okamura, and Tecchan, or Tecchan K.
Well, now I'm very hungry.
Who we don't have a name for, so maybe been a programmer or like an audio designer on the game. But SIZLLA Okamura, which is an interesting name.
Probably one of the best composer names I've ever heard.
Also goes by SIZLLA. I think you might be in the Wu-Tang Clan, SIZLLA. No, but also did work on Viewpoint, so that really tracks. This has a very Viewpoint kind of feel to it.
Yeah. In fact, Rob, you've played Viewpoint a couple times on Legacy Music Hour, and we've heard this composer before with that.
That's right.
And then also Arkista's Ring was another game that was on Legacy Music Hour that you played that he worked on as well. And there was also Jisen Pachi Slot Hisoho 2.
Wait, his name is Pachi Slot?
Well, it's a pachinko game, I think.
Oh, it's the name of a game.
But he did the when we did this one episode, we did like a music that was like adapted from previous music, and there was this Claude Debussy piece that he arranged for this game. Yeah,
I'll have to go back and listen to that. That's good. Man,
that was episode 160 for Legacy Music Hour. Anyway,
all right. So Rob, Rob, bringing the sizzle. I know you you DJ at an arcade nearby.
Yes.
Will this fit in one of your sets?
I think I could squeeze this one in there. Absolutely.
And by the way, I'm very envious of that too. You're talking about ground control, aren't you?
Ground control in Portland, Oregon.
So jealous.
Do you want to be there?
I want to go there so badly.
The arcade it's pretty awesome. It's huge, and the vibe is fantastic. The staff they're so nice, and then the people that come there, they come to game, and they've got so many different machines, and once a month I get to play my sets, and I try to keep it varied. And as a result, over the last couple of years that I've been doing this, I've just amassed these playlists, all kinds of different playlists, because I always like to try different things. And it's fun. It's just so much fun playing different things and having people either come up to me and say, "Hey, what is that?" Or they'll hold up their phone and try to find it on their phone. They'll hold up the phone to the speaker.
Wait, can Shazam actually... I've never gotten Shazam to properly pick up a VGM tune.
Do you think Shazam could pick up a Yuzo Koshiro? Probably, right?
Maybe the more well-known tracks and composers.
Well-known stuff. Yeah.
What are some like tracks or games that go down real good?
Well, I'll tell you right now. Whenever I put on some Alberto Jose Gonzalez, that's a straight up banger alert right there.
That's right.
Because
man, Gonzalez.
People love it. People love it. Love them some Smurfs.
I love those Smurfs.
Yeah.
That music hits. It just hits, and it sounds really good on the stereo system. The other thing is I have to adjust the track sometimes. Brent, you had an issue with that too, remember?
Yeah, a little bit.
When you were DJing, for some reason, some of the tracks that I have, they don't sound the same way they would if you put on headphones on your computer. Yeah. So when it comes out through the stereo system, maybe one channel is really loud, or there's just bass, or it just doesn't sound right. So I've had to adjust.
Yeah, a lot of systems are designed for like dance music, or for they're attenuated for specific frequencies. And then when you play like music composed on like sound chips, those frequencies are really specific. Like on the NES and on especially on the Sega Genesis, like those deep bass sounds, they probably overwhelm a lot of the rest of the track, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah. And then there are times when it's a gamer bar, but there's a lot of couples that come out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes just you can see a guy or a girl just kind of dancing, get real close to each other.
Yeah.
And they're just grooving to it.
To the Smurfs?
I forget which tracks. I think I talked to you about it, Brent, once.
Yeah.
But this couple, I forget what track it was, but when I watched that, I said, "Yeah, that's because of me right there." They're falling in love.
You're welcome.
I love it.
The music's too good.
Oh man, it's like
Cupid's triangle wave.
You're bringing the people together.
Or is it Cupid's square wave?
The Cupid square wave.
Hey, Rob, I like your track just now.
Oh, that was a jam, right?
Yeah. Just want to tell you that.
Oh.
All right.
Sounds like Cupid's square wave hit another person.
Yeah. And you just did that just now, Rob.
Well, Brent and our tastes are so varied, but I think that's why we're just perfectly paired,
Mm-hmm.
The peanut butter and the chocolate, right?
Or what is it? Peanut butter and the tuna? The nuts and the tuna?
Oh yeah, peanut butter and tuna, yeah.
Peanut butter and tuna music hour coming soon.
Yeah.
Well, I like the that organ sound in it. It sounds like it's out. It sounds like it's from a golf game, but then like Pebble Beach, and then like thrown into a shooter. I'm imagining this as a shooter. It's got that kind of sound to it.
Oh, I think this is the part where
that's a game. That's a game that can happen.
The dragon is burning the village, and all the villagers are being burned alive. And this is the music. This is the music that plays.
That's much more grim. It's way more grim. I'm like picturing a game now where like
they're off.
It's like an 18-hole golf course, but at the same time, there's also an intergalactic war going on. So as the golfers are playing through the course, it is your gunner's job to actually defend the golfer while he is lining up his shot to swing. So monsters are trying to attack him. You have soldiers throwing grenades. You have to send the grenades back.
You're joking, but there's an old, I think it's Atari or another old computer game called Ninja Golf. Have you heard of this?
No.
You're a ninja, obviously, and you hit the ball, and wherever it lands, it turns into a side-scrolling kind of like fighting, like beat 'em up type game to get to the ball.
So you have to chase after the ball and fight all foes.
It's real old. I think if you can find the artwork, like the box artwork for the game, it's probably like a million times better than how it actually looks. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Ninja Golf, like why not?
Apparently this needs to happen again because that's ingenious to me.
Man, good. This is the hits. I love the FM synthy sound. It's really good stuff. All right, so Pernell, what's your final track?
I was torn between two, but again, this has been great. Like every time, it's like here's a track. Like I know what I'm picking after that, and I'm going to go with this one. This is from the game Shadow Dancer, and it's stage 1-1, basically the beginning of the game, composed by Keisuke Tsukahara. Welcome back. You're listening to the first stage theme, stage 1-1 from the game Shadow Dancer, composed by Keisuke Tsukahara.
I like how excited you say Shadow Dancer.
Well, it's funny.
Shadow Dancer.
Well, it implies that this is a really awesome dancer, but he dances well when he uses light refraction to really display his moves. But this is actually the third Genesis game I ever played, followed behind Altered Beast and Mystic Defender. It's surprising how I don't bring it up much more often, and I think it's because even though
this was in the Shinobi series, right?
Yes, it was called Shadow Dancer. I want to say the Revenge of Shinobi, but the follow-up game Shinobi 3 is the one that generally gets the most talked about. But it's interesting because even though that is the case, this game stands on its own because it plays much differently from Shinobi 3. For one, you are still a platformer, but it's not as aggressive a platformer. It's more meticulous. And you also have a dog canine companion.
Yeah, that's right. That's this one, right? Is this the one where you're also a surf ninja?
No, that's 3 also. That's still Shinobi
that's
3.
On 3. Okay, that's right. Like,
I wish you could do it with this. Because imagine surfing with your dog. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, that, like, I remember that scene. That'd be really cool, though.
That'd be awesome. But what the dog could do in this game is you could sick the dog on people who are holding characters hostage. He can hold them off while you're up and kill the guy, and then you can save the hostage they're holding. And that's honestly the game. You're playing through stages, rescuing hostages, and getting to the end of the level, and then fighting the respective bosses or whatnot. And it's just a good game, especially being as early as it was in the Genesis lifetime.
Yeah, that's right. This was an earlier title. It's interesting. We were just talking, maybe it was before we started recording or at the beginning, about how the Genesis in specific hands, like it sounded completely different, and this is a great example of that because the sound is like so full. You think of like Rob Hubbard or your even like Matt Furness,
Ron Hubbard,
Rob Hubbard. But it's like it just you can tell. You almost tell when it's a specific composer. Some would argue that it was really the the programmer doing the sound design behind it. But like really, like it's just the compositions are so more realized. It's very, very cool. This is a cool song. I like how insane it is at the beginning too. It almost sounds like boss music. You know?
It reminded me of the first track Rob played today. You know,
the boss music.
Right. Yeah, it's always like off key, not off key, but like minor, and then a little wild. Like a different kind of time.
Would you
signature.
say wild like the streets?
Wild like
the West?
Like the West.
It's like the West.
Wild like the girls that have gone?
Oh, yes. 1 or possibly 42.
Or wild like the wind. Wild as the wind.
Go wild.
Wild like the call of...
Wild like Marty Stauffer's America.
Oh jeez, how many more can we go? Oh my god! Wild like the wings from Buffalo.
There you go. Yeah, wild stallions.
It works. It works.
Wild like the stallions.
Wild like the stallions. I think Wild Like the Stallions.
How about Wild Like the Styles?
Wild Like the Styles.
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
like
Wild Style. They were an '80s hip hop group, right?
Wild Styles. Yeah. Well, it was a movie.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
Based on the
'80s rap.
Wild like the thing that makes my heart sing.
Holy cow! You guys are going deep now. I'm still trying to trust it. There's got to be more, and I'm missing it, but you're finding it.
Wild like the berry. That's my Kool-Aid flavor.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
wild like Oscar. Like this guy named Oscar right now.
My brain was like wild like a child, but I don't think that one works too much. It just rhymes. There's something special about that.
All right. I'm going to move on to my final track. This is a new find for me.
Wild like a draw 4. There.
Oh, okay.
Settle. Now it's done.
Wait, just one last thing.
Yeah,
though.
totally.
Wild like where the things are.
Oh, that's a good closer for that.
Brent's been getting literary on us. Wild like Brent's literary references.
I love that. And it went on for a good bit. That's the best part.
All right, so this is a new game. Well, not a new game, but it's a new find. I feel like I've been looking for this game my whole life.
Oh,
Or at least the soundtrack. This is called Project S11 for the Game Boy Color, and it was developed by a European group, but then it was distributed by not Jalico, by Sunsoft. It was distributed by Sunsoft. So the composers on the track are demo scene composers. Then they would write music for like the Amiga and stuff, for like hacker groups and things like that. So the composers are Heatbeat and Purple Motion. And Heatbeat is Aleksi, Eeben, and Purple Motion is Jonne Valtonen. And we're going to listen to Mission 4, Bern Jungle. And what I love about this is that because of the of their demo scene background, it has like a really modern chiptune sound to it, like how people would make like Game Boy music today. It sounds like this on the Game Boy. So this is Mission 4, Bern Jungle, Bern Bern, like Bernie Sanders, for Project S11 for the Game Boy Color.
Oh, this right here is my favorite color.
Yeah, I love
there
that.
drop.
The bass is killer. This is Mission 4, Burn Jungle from Project S11 for the Game Boy Color, composed by Heatbeat, Aleksi, Eeben, and Purple Motion, Jonne Valtonen.
This really makes me want to do a Game Boy themed episode.
This is so good. So, so it was developed by a group called Paragon 5, and then it was distributed published in North America by Sunsoft for the Game Boy Color in 2001. So yeah, it's got a really modern kind of that Western sound to it, where it's very rhythm heavy. It's kind of a longer track, but man, it is.
I love that little fiddler on the roof part in the middle there. I told you that part hits, man. It hits.
Yeah, you were really feeling this track. This was working for you.
Oh yeah, this is worth the price of admission right here.
He's like, prior to this, I was like, oh, you know, I wanted to be on this show.
No, this is a jam right here.
Yeah, it's always, this is like why finding music like this really sparks my interest to like to keep the show going. You know, it's like there's always something new to find.
That is true.
Exactly. That's so cool that these games, Game Boy Color. What year is this game?
2001.
2001. It even what are we now? 18 years later, you're just discovering it. That's the beauty. It's the beauty of what we do, gentlemen.
And it's an interesting thing too, because like Rob and I come at this from two different perspectives in a sense. Where like, even though it's not a requirement for me, I always tell myself I gotta at least experience this game before I select the track. But what ends up happening to me is that like Rob will come in with these tracks from games I've never heard of. And it'll play on the show, and it'll sound so good that I have to go out and find the game and experience it immediately, so I can actually be like, okay, now this feels good. I can feel good about this because it draws me to want to try the title itself.
I don't know much about this game, but what I do know is that it's an overhead shooter, but you have kind of full control motion over where you go.
Think like 1942 as far as like how the movement goes on the screen.
Or like Time Pilot.
Yeah, because I was just looking at it.
Ghost Pilot. Oh wait, never mind. Time Pilot. Yeah.
Time Pilot. Yeah, and then but for the Game Boy, for at least from what I've read, I still haven't played it yet. That like the programmers were really clever in how they worked it. Where there's no screen flicker. There's no flickering on the sprites that move around on the screen, so like they've done a really good job. And also, there's a lot going on with the music, so they fit a whole lot into these cartridges. But I think the Game Boy Color, like some of the cartridges were able to hold more memory or something.
Yeah, that was one of the upgrades to the Game Boy Color, was that the carts could hold more memory.
Okay.
So like, and also one trick I noticed while I was checking it out was there was like when you got to bosses, they had this interesting graphical trick where the screen would ripple.
Oh, interesting.
As it was going into a transition to the screen where the boss was exposed on. So it was a very cool element to something I don't even recall ever seeing occur on a Game Boy Color game before.
Yeah, that sounds like something. That sounds like a demo scene trick. Like they would have like those kind of cool like graphics and stuff like ripple on the screen. But yeah, so 2001 for the Game Boy Color. Would this track be legal on the Legacy Music Hour?
It would be not on a regular episode, but a beyond 16-bit episode. I mean, beyond fourth generation, because we consider Game Boy Color to be fifth generation.
You bring that track onto the Legacy Music Hour. I'm gonna need to see the license and registration, please. Back away from the microphone slowly, please.
Actually,
back away.
I love it. It's like, sir, put down that bass. Don't drop that bass.
Put down the Game Boy and don't drop that bass.
Now, this does lead me to an interesting inquiry. So, when Rob first had the idea for this show, we were talking details about it. And originally, Rob wanted to do a similar style, keeping the music very retro. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to do all retro because I feel like I'd run ideas or something.
Yeah, so early on, I was doing more retro music, and then you were bringing more modern music, which was really cool for games like the Ease series and for Contra. But as the longer we've done this, the more I've come to know more about and appreciate more of the modern game music. Especially, it helps now that like a lot of these sounds are popular again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes me wonder. Given, because that's how that's going with us, would you guys say that in the process of sticking with no later than third or fourth gen, that you've ever found yourself working an episode and feeling like you were having difficulty choosing tracks for that particular episode? Because there's a ton of games out there, yes. But
it virtually is endless, I feel. You know, I mean, you can stay within the third and fourth generation and never run out, I feel. I mean, I would not be able to run out in my lifetime. If we continue to do the podcast, well, especially we only do it once a month anyway, but you know, for the amount of tracks we pick now for each episode, and we did it for the rest of my life, I would not run out of tracks. It's virtually infinite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just the bottomless. It's the bottomless mimosa of the music world.
It's the endless ocean.
Take my trip to Red Robin. Order myself an endless stream.
I like when you think of endless food, you immediately go to Red Robin and go, endless fries.
Because it's genius. Red Robin. I tell Rob about this all the time in the sense that when we were teenagers, I would have killed for a place like Red Robin. You walk in and you say, I want bottomless fries and drinks. You pay a flat cost and you know how they can't kick you out. You would go out to restaurants with your friends as a teenager and likely order fries and drinks repeatedly.
Right.
And rack up a debt. Meanwhile, I'm like, why even go home? I'll just stay here until they close. We'll just play Game Boy together and they'll hate us, but it'll be great.
Hooligan.
That's right. I am quite the varmint.
All right, well, I'm going to turn this final track down, and we're going to get into the part of the show that we call the bonus round.
Bonus
Bonus round theme song.
round.
The bonus round is the part of the show where we play covers and remixes and arrangements on the theme of our show, and we share with friends. So we asked Brent and Rob to kind of come out of their third and fourth generation element and find some arrangements or some remixes that they've been feeling, things maybe they've been listening to for a while and they've enjoyed, and share it with the rest of us.
Well, this is a track that you will never hear on the Legacy Music Hour, so I'm happy to share it here because it's from a later generation game, and it's also a cover. And so we only did one cover episode, but it was all covers of, you know, third and fourth generation stuff. Mm-hmm. So this is from Final Fantasy X, or it's an arrangement of music from Final Fantasy X, in particular a piece called Thunder Plains. And the composer and arranger is Masashi Hamauzu, and this is just for piano, arranged for piano, solo piano. The performer is Aki Kuroda, and again, Masashi Hamauzu did most of the game to Final Fantasy X. I think Nobuo Uematsu might have done some tracks, but anyway, this is one of his. Yeah. And he's very influenced by, I feel like, Ryuichi Sakamoto and Claude Debussy. This is the second time Claude Debussy's mentioned on the episode. But you really hear this Debussy kind of sound. It's has this impressionism kind of sound to it. But I love this piece of music, and I especially really love the end of it, actually. So the end of it sort of really starts to get some really cool stuff going on. So anyway, this is Thunder Plains from Final Fantasy X, composed and arranged for piano by Masashi Hamauzu, performed by Aki Kuroda.
It's the Thunder Plains from Final Fantasy X, arranged by Masashi Hamauzu and performed by Aki Kuroda. So that was a great one.
And composed and original music composed by Masashi.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hamauzu.
Yeah, and composed. That was fantastic. I
love that. The ending is so nice with it really. There's the arpeggios at the end are so nice, and the whole thing just sounds. I mean, it's just true, just straight up, just sounds like classical music. You know, impressionist music. You know?
I could see the Debussy connection there.
Yeah, it's so there. It's so there. Or Ravel too, maybe. Yeah.
Have you explored Final Fantasy X Part 2, the sequel to this game, at all?
No.
The soundtrack it's similar to 10, but it's very jazzy. It's got like this cool. It's almost like it makes me think of you because part of it feels like elevator jazz, like kind of cool elevator jazz, but like in this kind of style because it all takes place in the same world. If not playing the game, check out the music. The music is it's really, really cool. Really cool.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Rob, we're on to you and your bonus pick, which I think is going to be on the completely different side of things.
I played Final Fantasy once. I tried to.
Like this game in the series or 10?
In the series.
Okay.
And I only fantasized about being able to punch and kick.
So you played Dissidia. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
So that's what I was fantasizing about, and that is a perfect segue.
Absolutely perfect. Yes.
The final track right here from the Mad Gear Band.
Yes.
The Mad Gear Band. They're doing a cover of Bad Dudes. Bad Dudes.
How bad are these dudes?
So bad.
All right, let's go.
So bad.
It would have been cool if you picked something from Final, or if they did a Final Fight thing, because if you go from Final Fantasy to Final Fight, and it's a final track too, or final track.
The Mad Gear.
They have.
Final Fight,
I was about to say
right?
they definitely have Final Fight tracks because that's where their name comes from.
These guys have a great sense of humor.
I'm more of a dude kind of guy.
All right, dude. All right, there we go. This is Bad Dudes.
Yeah, dudes.
Let's hear this wicked track.
This is live. This is a live version of Bad Dudes from the Mad Gear.
I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna look for that later.
Yeah, that was
definitely a Castlevania track.
All right, so that was Bad Dudes,
Hey.
played by the Mad Gear, with Bruce Irons on the drums. I forget the rest of their names, but they're the toughest guys in VGM cover band history.
They are.
Love those guys.
But you're
Absolutely
right.
love
That
those
it
guys.
is like Castlevania, isn't it? Kind of sounding like it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm really positive at this point. Just a matter of figuring out which track it was. Like, was it? I don't think it was Vampire Killer, but it was like
Not Vampire Killer, I don't think, but
Yeah,
it might have been from part 3, maybe.
Okay, I'm
gonna look it up later.
We were talking about Shazam earlier. If we could just sing into the phone.
We had an episode a few months or maybe even over a year ago at this point where we were picking tracks that sounded like music from other tracks, or if not exactly like another track.
That's right.
And
Like sound-alikes.
the sound like episode. That was one of my favorite episodes to do. It was one of the hardest to do.
Yeah.
Because it was purely based around like coincidences. If you just happened to stumble across the sound and you noted it for later, but this got me thinking about it again. Because like this could have been a cover or like a medley of multiple games, which case it would be a non-claimer. But if that was actually a cover from the game Bad Dudes, I'd want to put those two together now.
All right, so what is your bonus round track?
My bonus round track,
What-
sir.
Yeah, sir.
Well, I'm going to keep this real light and classy. Actually, it's not classy at all. Who are we kidding? I felt like I wanted to do something with the Genesis sound today due to our discussions and talks. And I came across a track that is a cover of a modern track of which I love, but it's covered through the Genesis sound, which is what you guys love over at Legacy Music Hour. So a blend of the modern with a bit of the classic. So this is a Genesis remix of the track Rooftop Run from the game Sonic Unleashed, originally composed by Tomoya Otani, Fumi Kumatani, Kenichi Tokoi, Hideaki Kobayashi, and Takahito Iguchi, but this was remastered by Phoenix Archangelus. There you go. So you were listening to, or are listening to, or were, I don't know. But this track should have been in your ears recently. It is the Genesis remix to the track Rooftop Run from the game Sonic Unleashed, redone by Mattlovania, but it was originally composed by Tomoya Otani. So this track is, well, like I said, it's done with the intent being working with the Genesis style of sound, but is a remix to a track that is fairly iconic to people who followed Sonic new releases over the years, because after Sonic 2006, I believe it was, which was horrifically panned, it did not do well at all. It was just a technical flop. Then this game is announced, and this is the track and the stage that was used to say, Sonic is back, everybody. And you get Sonic running on the newly built Hedgehog engine, blasting through a replica of, basically, I guess I want to say it was like France. Like, basically, it was pretty much France.
Okay.
And he's like blasting through the streets.
Because
this music is playing.
Of course, France.
Oh, yeah, it's because in Sonic Unleashed, you're going around the world, but they came up with fake names for all the different places. But you're blasting through the streets. This music is playing, and it brings you the impression that Sonic, the Sonic you loved, is back, and he's ready to tear it up. And then the game comes out and he turns into a world.
Would you say the Sonic that you love is back now?
Honestly, I'm in the minority that felt that Sonic himself, Sega was just botching it, but the spirit of him was always there. And it was proven in things like this level, and other levels in this game where it was just Sonic. The ones that worked really worked. And then when Sonic Generations came out, that to me was...
That was the newest one, right?
Now, the newest one
create your own
was...
character thing.
No, that was atrocious. That was Sonic Forces. Now, Sonic Generations came out in like 2000, let's say 13. Just throw a rough number out there.
Okay.
And it was the melding of the classic Sonic style with the modern, where they had like a weird fake time ripple and pulled both Sonics into like a weird time rift. So you were using modern Sonic to play through modernized versions of classic Sonic stages, and then the classic Sonic was playing through re-envisioned versions of classic Sonic stages.
Do you think 2 years from now we'll have a game that is the classic Sonic, then the 3D Sonic, and then movie Sonic, and they all meet each other somewhere?
That would be freaking hysterical. I'm just going to say that right now.
It'd be kind of scary, though.
But I would watch it. I'm going to tell you right now, because I can tell you the thing about Generations that was the best, aside from them doing like that perfect blend of two gameplay styles, is that they mocked their own heritage. Like, they were making fun of the things that people already complained about the games. Like, there's a point at the end of the game where, both Sonics are about to fight both Robotniks, the modern and the classic Robotnik, and all of Sonic's friends show up to cheer them on. Like, you can do it! And then the classic Robotnik, who, of course, those characters didn't exist back then, was like, who the heck are all these guys? And the new Robotnik's like, unimportant. Because no one likes, like, those random hedgehogs, like, the wackiness that just started getting thrown around. But, like, the game is great. And this track, I felt, was a good choice for that merge of the two.
Yeah, it's a melding of those sounds. I wouldn't say it's faithful using Genesis hardware.
I would agree.
Yeah, but it's got that sound to it. All right, so mine is actually surprisingly faithful to the original music, but it's an incredible arrangement. I just discovered this, although it's a little bit older. It's from a Japanese like acoustic trio called Meine, Meinung, and it's Eriko Iwasawa singing, Hiroyuki Kato on guitar, Makoto Suzaki on bass, and Kenta Sato on guitar. And this is their version of Dream of the Shore Near Another World from Chrono Cross.
Oh, I know you like Chrono Cross.
I'll have links in the show notes for some of their other videos and music, because it's really fantastic. So this is from Chrono Cross, performed by Meine, Meinung. was Dream of the Shore Near Another World from Chrono Cross, composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, and this is arranged by the group Meine, Meinung, which was Eriko Iwasawa singing and on the flute, Hiroyuki Kato on guitar, Makoto Suzaki on the upright bass, and Kenta Sato also on guitar. And there's just really amazing arrangements of classic game music, and they've also done a lot of original compositions for new games. I think I like a lot of like iOS games and stuff too. But just really, really talented, really, really good stuff.
It really sounds like one of those kind of like street bands, that you see sometimes. Those like I don't know, they seem like Native American or something like that, or maybe like Peruvian or something like that. Those street bands you see.
Just walking, it's like here, yeah. Like, whoa, where's that coming from?
I mean, this is Chrono Cross has some of my favorite music ever.
This would have stopped me on the corner.
Yeah, I would stop and listen, and definitely throw some money. Throw some money in.
Whoa! Let's not go nuts here. I would drop some money.
Yeah, you drop some money. Come on. All right. For more information on the bonus round part of our show, go to rhythmandpixels.com. We'll have links to their Bandcamps. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. We'll have links to their Bandcamps, bios, SoundClouds, everywhere where you can go buy the music and support the artists. All right. Thanks for joining us on episode 18-9 of Rhythm and Pixels. This is our jam session with the Legacy Music Hour. So Brent and Rob, thanks for taking the time, spending it with us.
No, thanks for having us.
Thank you guys so much for having us, for chatting with us, for humoring me and listening to some of my ramblings on games and just shooting the breeze with us. That was really cool of you guys. Thank you so much for the invite. You guys got it. I really like how you guys rock out to the jams. Because I don't know if you've been able to see that or not, Brent.
I have. I'm seeing it. I see it. I
have the camera.
Oh,
yeah. Sometimes it backfires, Rob. You see it.
Let me see something here real quick. Can you see me real quick?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
do you see me, Brent?
I do indeed. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to Rhythm and Pixels.
Hey man, that's our line. Thank you guys for existing, because if you never did what you did and did it well for so long, he would have never had the idea for us to even do what we do, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now, which has been one of my favorite episodes with guests in a long time. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh man, the pleasure was all on my side.
All Rob's side, not mine. No, it was a pleasure as well on my end as well. I share that side. With Rob.
Yeah, the West Coast.
West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast.
West Coast. East Coast. West meets East.
Which is funny, by the way. Actually, like a friend of mine actually came and saw you guys. Like you did like a live performance. Was it last summer? I think it was maybe. Like my friends Emily and Mike were at that show.
Oh, okay.
They loved it. It's like, hey, these guys are great. But
this was a nice EA 4-way play.
This is a multi-tap experience.
No, I noticed how I didn't say turbo tap.
Yeah, that darn thing.
The 4-way play was on the Genesis.
Yeah, the turbo tap. That thing was a cash grab on top of cash grabs.
There you go.
Well, I know that you have more things to do tonight. So, do you have anything you'd like to plug to our audience before you head out, Rob?
I'll plug the legacymusichour.com. And please listen to Rhythm and Pixels. Plug you guys, man. You guys are doing fantastic, and that was a lot of fun. I really dig your guys' format.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks. All right, and Brent, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, the Legacy Music Hour .com.
Yeah.
You can check it out on iTunes or whatever. I don't know. Check out Rhythm and Pixels.
I do have.
Check out BrentWeinbach.com.
There you go.
Yeah, BrentWeinbach.com. Yeah, we gotta see more.
Check out Fisticuts. You know, if you want to get a cut, if you're in Portland and sometimes other cities, and you need to get a cut, you're trying to get a nice fade going or whatever.
Right, and the standing challenge for Street Fighter 2 is open. It's always on the Genesis. And lately we've been playing NBA Jam as well, Tournament Edition.
Actually, I'm glad you said it, because I was going to say I had one question myself for you guys before your go-to. It's like, what 2 or so games would you say you'd recommend, like, if you were like just to throw out, like, you should be playing this game right now. If you haven't played it before, let's get on it. Like
NBA Jam.
Boom.
From downtown. That's Rob right there.
Downtown.
I don't know. I mean, like old game. Look, one of my more recent discoveries of older games that I think is such a gem and just it's so good is Ganbare Goemon 4 from Super Famicom. It's so fun, and
good.
you need a little. There's a couple of parts that you need to know Japanese for, but
is that the one with the bunny people?
The bunny people is not. That is that's a different one. That might be part 3, I think. But the definitely not that. Yes, I think it's part 3 or 2 or 3. But part 4 though is so fun. It's really good platforming if you like that kind of thing. And that's a great game. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as far as modern games, I mean, geez, I don't know where to start. But you know, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but Inside is really good, or The Messenger.
Yeah,
I don't know. But one other thing I guess I can promote is, I don't know, this is not related to any of this, but I don't know, I also do comedy, and if you want to, I have this comedy special called Appealing to the Mainstream, and it's on Amazon, and if you want to check it out, you can watch it on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, you can see it for free. But
cool.
There's some secret stuff in it too, if you can figure it out.
Did you hide the Konami code in your sketch, in your stand-up?
Could be.
Oh, I like that.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Well, thank you, Rob.
Thank you, guys.
And if you would like to get in contact with us, if you have track suggestions or if you have topic suggestions for the show, send us an email.
rhythmandpixels@hotmail.com.
And if you'd like to know more about the show or have a full track listing of all the episodes and access to all of our episodes, check out the website.
rhythmandpixels.com.
And don't forget, you can see us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. It's Rhythm and Pixels, all one word. Also go to youtube.com/rhythmandpixels. There we have our radio station playing nothing but 8-bit and 16-bit jams 24/7. And if you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/rhythmandpixels and you can support us there. So for every one of you, you've helped make this show possible.
Yes.
So we'd like to thank. We would like to thank.
Who is? I never met that
all
guy.
of their names. We want to thank that Nick Walker, Alex the Messenger, Steve Miller, the Autistic Gamer 89, Cameron Worma, Christopher Shenstrom, Damian Beckles, Bobby Arson from One Up Funk, which I have to give a huge shout out to. We just did a collaboration on a track.
It's good
that you can check out. It's called Frequency. I'm labeled as Press Start to Continue, and Bobby Arson did vocals on it. He's an amazing artist, amazing lyricist. You can check that out on our YouTube page, Rhythm and Pixels. We also want to thank Wicked Sephiroth, OK Impala, Kung Fu Carlito from the Heroes 3 podcast, Henrik Anderson, Michael Bridgewater from the Forever Sound Version podcast, Brian Pitt, Morton Gangso, Chris Murray, Daryl the Last Rican, Jupiter Jazz. Oh, Daryl, also a new patron of the show. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the
welcome
the
aboard,
support.
sir.
Welcome aboard. Jupiter Jazz, thank you. Soulless Sanctuary, as always, thank you so much for the kind words and everything on Facebook. Mix6 Master John Cheekle, Joe Vassallo, Chris Steenerson, and David Smith.
A wonderful, wonderful cast of characters,
Yeah.
the likes of which you can never meet anywhere else in such high regard.
But yeah, thank you all so much for your continued support of the show. So yeah, this would have been a week later. This would have been the end of season 18 or World 18, but because of too many games, the recording just not working out. We'll have another live show in July, in the second week in July in Philadelphia. Go to rhythmandpixels.com and there's kind of like a calendar of events. You can click on that, and you can come see us. We're going to be at a place on Market Street for the Philly Podcast Festival, and that's going to be cool. Hopefully it'll be as much fun. I have no idea what to expect at these things.
Honestly, we might just do the same topic that we would have done up there, because that makes sense.
Yeah, we should just do that anyway.
Do the same topic.
It's going to be a whole bunch of cool pop culture podcasts, a bunch of podcasts on like mental health, on sexuality, on politics, and then us.
We'll be a podcast on being good to your fellow man.
That's right.
Through music, song, and gooberdom.
And maybe dance. But anyway.
Well, I'll work out some things. Maybe I got my two-step out of hibernation there.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to the show. Rhythm and Pixels. My name is Rob Nichols.
And I'm Pernell.
See you next week.
And good night. And remember, everybody likes to talk. Everybody likes to listen. We love to have our listening parties jamming out to great tunes. But sometimes when we're talking to each other and socializing, we have a little bit more difficulty with getting a full listen in. Sometimes it's because you just can't wait to get a response into what's being said to you. Other times, you just don't know what to listen for. You just want to go through the motions. But I can definitely say, take the time to listen to what your friends, family, and honestly, just people in your life have to say. Sometimes just for the words, and also listen for the sound, the way it feels to hear it, because you can infer a lot just by the sound, the feeling that comes from the way someone says something. And sometimes for people, that's worth its weight in gold, because you'd be surprised how many people go through the day and never have anyone truly listen to what they have to say. So it's a good thing to try to actively do for folks, both that you know and that you necessarily don't know. Crack at it.